Somewhere along the path of life, we have all felt the sting of someone's cold words, the shadow of someone's disregard, or the quiet judgment of someone who fails to see us. But let me tell you this, and hear it deep in your bones. The measure of your worth was never theirs to take. Your value does not rise or fall with the tides of another's opinion. It lives quietly, powerfully, and eternally within you. No dismissal, no criticism, no indifference can dim the light that is uniquely yours. Today, we will reclaim that truth, and in doing so, remind ourselves that we are enough, always, completely, and without apology. There is a quiet truth that lives beneath all the noise of this world, a truth that does not shout, does not beg, and does not bend. It simply is. And that truth is this: your worth was never something handed to you by another soul. It was not placed in their hands to give, to withhold, or to measure. It was born with you, stitched into your being, long before anyone had the chance to misunderstand you, overlook you, or walk away from you. You did not arrive here empty, waiting to be filled by applause or approval. You arrived whole, yet life has a way of making us forget. A careless word, a broken promise, a moment of rejection can feel like a verdict on who we are. We begin to question ourselves, to shrink in places where we once stood tall, to wonder if perhaps their behavior is a reflection of something lacking within us. But no, that is not your story. Their inability to recognize your value does not rewrite your truth. It only reveals the limits of their vision. You must come to understand that people will meet you from the level of their own awareness, their own wounds, their own fears. Some will see your light and celebrate it. Others will see that same light and feel threatened by it. And some will not see it at all. But none of these responses have the power to define what you are. A diamond does not become less valuable because it is buried in the ground, nor does it lose its brilliance because someone fails to recognize it. It remains what it is, rare, unbreakable, and full of quiet fire. When you begin to anchor yourself in this knowing, something shifts within you. You stop chasing validation like it is oxygen. You stop bending yourself into shapes that do not belong to you. You stand a little firmer, breathe a little deeper, and carry yourself with a kind of peace that does not need permission, because you understand now that your worth is not a negotiation. It is not up for debate. It is not something to be proven over and over again to those who refuse to see. And in that understanding, there is freedom. The freedom to walk away from what diminishes you. The freedom to choose yourself without guilt. The freedom to exist as you are without apology. You begin to realize that you are not here to convince the world of your value. You are here to live it, to embody it, to honor it in the way you speak, the way you love, and the way you rise after every fall. So let them misunderstand you if they must. Let them underestimate you if they choose. But do not under any circumstance join them in that mistake. Hold on to the truth of who you are with both hands and an unshakable heart, because your worth is not fragile. It is not fleeting, it is eternal, and it has been yours all along. There comes a moment in life when you begin to notice a pattern, a quiet repetition of moments where someone's words cut deeper than they should, or their silence feels heavier than it ought to. And if you are not careful, you will begin to gather those moments like evidence against yourself, building a case that was never meant to be yours. You will start to believe that the way they treated you must somehow be a reflection of who you are, but that is a burden you were never meant to carry. People act from the place within them that is most familiar, from their fears, their insecurities, their unhealed wounds, and sometimes from their own emptiness. When someone dismisses you, it is not always because you lack value, but because they lack the capacity to recognize it. When someone undermines you, it is not always a sign that you are weak, but often a sign that they are struggling with their own sense of strength. Their behavior is a mirror, yes, but it is a mirror reflecting their inner world, not yours. It is easy to confuse someone's treatment with your identity, to think that if they ignore you, you must be unimportant. If they speak harshly, you must be undeserving of kindness. But the truth stands quietly, waiting for you to see it. Their actions are choices, shaped by their own experiences, their own limitations, and their own battles. You are not the cause of every storm that passes through someone else's heart. You must learn to separate what belongs to you from what does not. Not every harsh word is yours to keep. Not every cold gesture is yours to understand. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is to say, "This is not mine," and let it pass through you without taking root. Because the moment you begin to carry what was never yours, you begin to lose sight of yourself. And when you truly understand this, you begin to move differently. You stop taking things so personally, not because you have grown numb, but because you have grown wise. You begin to see people more clearly, not as judges of your worth, but as individuals navigating their own complicated paths. Their reactions no longer define your reality, they simply reveal their own. There is a quiet strength in this kind of understanding. It allows you to remain soft without becoming fragile, to remain open without becoming vulnerable to every passing opinion. You learn that you can be kind without accepting disrespect, and understanding without excusing harm. You begin to stand in your truth with a calm confidence that does not need to defend itself. So when someone chooses to treat you as less than you are, do not shrink to fit their perception. Do not rewrite your story to match their limited view. Let their actions remain where they belong, with them, and you remain where you belong, in the fullness of your worth, untouched, unshaken, and still standing. There is a quiet pressure in this world that teaches you, little by little, that you must earn your place, that you must adjust your voice, soften your edges, stretch your patience, and shape yourself into something more acceptable, more pleasing, more easily held by others. And before you even realize it, you begin to measure your worth by how well you are received. You begin to believe that being enough is something you must achieve, rather than something you already are. But there is a deeper truth calling you back to yourself, a truth that does not demand performance or perfection. It whispers that your existence alone carries value, that you were not created to audition for acceptance. You were created to live, to express, to be fully and unapologetically who you are. The moment you begin to chase validation, you move further away from that truth, trading your authenticity for approval that was never meant to define you. Pleasing others can feel like a form of safety. It can bring temporary comfort, a sense of belonging, a fleeting moment of being seen. But there is a cost to constantly shaping yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. You begin to lose the sound of your own voice. You begin to question your own desires. And slowly, almost invisibly, you drift away from the person you were always meant to be. Because the more you seek validation outside of yourself, the more you disconnect from the validation that already lives within you. To embrace your own truth is not always easy. It requires you to stand firm in who you are, even when it is misunderstood. It asks you to honor your feelings, even when they are inconvenient for others. It challenges you to choose yourself, not in arrogance, but in deep, unwavering self-respect. And in doing so, you begin to build a foundation within yourself that cannot be shaken by approval or rejection. You start to realize that being enough has nothing to do with how many people agree with you, support you, or celebrate you. It has everything to do with how honestly you show up in your own life. It is found in the moments when you speak your truth, even if your voice trembles. It is found in the courage to walk your own path, even when it feels lonely. It is found in the quiet decision to honor yourself again and again without needing permission. And as you begin to live from this place, something powerful happens. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth because you are no longer questioning it. You no longer chase acceptance because you have already given it to yourself. There is a calm confidence that grows within you, not loud or boastful, but steady and unshakable. It is the kind of confidence that comes from knowing that you are not lacking, not incomplete, not in need of constant validation. So, release the need to be everything for everyone. Release the belief that your worth is something to be earned through sacrifice or silence. Stand in the fullness of who you are, with all your imperfections, all your truths, and all your light. Because you were never meant to become enough, you have always been enough. There will be moments when words are thrown at you without care, when criticism arrives uninvited, and when the coldness of others feels sharper than it should. It may come quietly, disguised as indifference, or loudly, wrapped in judgment. And in those moments, it is easy, almost natural, to let those things slip beneath your skin, to carry them with you, to replay them until they begin to sound like truth. But not everything that reaches you is meant to stay with you. You must learn the quiet art of letting things pass. Not every opinion deserves a home in your mind. Not every harsh word carries wisdom. Some words are born from anger, some from envy, some from misunderstanding, and some from pain that has nothing to do with you. If you gather all of it and hold it close, you will find yourself weighed down by things that were never yours to begin with. Think of yourself as something steady, something grounded, like a stone standing in the rain. The rain may fall, it may touch the surface, it may even linger for a moment, but it does not change what the stone is. It does not seep into its core or alter its strength. In the same way, negativity may reach you, but it does not have the power to define you unless you allow it to settle within you. This does not mean you become unfeeling or distant. It does not mean you ignore every voice around you. There is value in reflection, in growth, in listening when something is meant to teach you. But there is a difference between learning and absorbing harm. There is a difference between considering feedback and believing every negative word spoken in your direction. Wisdom lies in knowing which is which. When you begin to practice this, you will notice a shift within yourself. The things that once lingered for days will begin to pass in moments. The words that once echoed in your mind will lose their volume. You will find yourself less shaken, less reactive, and more at peace. Not because the world has become kinder, but because you have become stronger in how you meet it. There is a kind of freedom in not internalizing everything, a lightness that comes when you stop carrying unnecessary weight. You begin to protect your inner space with quiet strength, choosing carefully what you allow to take root within you. And in doing so, you preserve something deeply important, your sense of self. Because at your core, beyond all opinions, beyond all passing judgments, there is something steady and untouched, something that remains whole, regardless of how others behave. And the more you learn to let negativity pass over you, rather than through you, the closer you come to living from that place. So when the world speaks in ways that do not honor you, let it speak and let it go. Do not collect every careless word as if it were truth. Do not give permanence to what was only ever temporary. Stand firm in who you are and allow the rest to fall away. There comes a time when you begin to understand that not every door is meant to remain open, not every connection is meant to be maintained, and not every presence deserves access to your inner world. For too long, you may have believed that keeping the peace meant keeping everyone close, that kindness required constant availability, and that love meant enduring what quietly diminishes you. But there is a deeper form of wisdom that gently reminds you, protecting your spirit is not selfish, it is necessary. Boundaries are not walls built from anger. They are doors guided by self-respect. They do not exist to shut the world out, but to choose with care what is allowed in. When someone measures your worth by their moods, their insecurities, or their inability to see you clearly, they are asking you to stand on unstable ground. And if you remain there too long, you may begin to question your own footing. This is where boundaries become your steady ground, your quiet declaration that your value will not be negotiated. It is not always easy to draw that line. There may be guilt that rises within you, a voice that questions whether you are being too distant, too firm, too much. You may worry about disappointing others or being misunderstood. But you must remember, every time you abandon your own limits to satisfy someone else's comfort, you create a distance between who you are and how you are living. And that distance, over time, becomes its own kind of pain. To set a boundary is to honor yourself in a world that will not always do it for you. It is the calm decision to say, "This is where I end, and this is where you begin." It is choosing not to engage in conversations that belittle you, not to remain in spaces that drain you, and not to accept treatment that asks you to become less than you are. It is not loud, it is not harsh, it is steady, clear, and unwavering. And here is the truth many struggle to accept. Not everyone will understand your boundaries, and not everyone will respect them. Some will resist, not because your boundary is wrong, but because they were comfortable when you had none. They may question you, challenge you, or even walk away. But their reaction does not make your boundary any less valid. It only reveals what they were accustomed to receiving from you. When you begin to live with boundaries, something within you begins to heal. You feel less overwhelmed, less stretched, less lost in the expectations of others. There is a quiet strength that takes root, a sense of control over your own space, your own energy, your own life. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself endlessly or defend your decisions. You simply stand in them, and in that space, you begin to attract something different. People who respect your limits, people who see your value without needing you to prove it, people who meet you with the same care that you have finally learned to give yourself. Because when you honor your own boundaries, you teach others how to honor you. So do not be afraid to protect your peace. Do not hesitate to step back from what tries to reduce you. Your spirit is not meant to be handled carelessly. It is something sacred, something worthy of respect, something that deserves to be guarded with intention. And every boundary you set is a quiet reminder to the world and to yourself that your value stands firm, untouched by anyone who fails to see it. There is a way of walking through this world that does not require loud declarations or constant defense, a way of being that speaks before you ever say a word. It is not found in how much you explain yourself, nor in how often you seek to be understood. It is found in something quieter, something steadier, the way you honor yourself when no one is watching, the way you choose yourself when it would be easier not to. This is where self-respect begins, not as a performance, but as a private agreement between you and your own soul. When you carry self-respect within you, it becomes your compass. It guides your decisions, your reactions, your boundaries, and your silence. It reminds you when something does not feel right, even if you cannot immediately explain why. It urges you to step away from what diminishes you and to stand firm in what aligns with your truth. And though others may not always understand your choices, there is a quiet certainty that grows within you, a knowing that you are no longer betraying yourself to be accepted. Too often, people believe respect must be demanded, earned through struggle, or proven through endurance. But true respect begins within. It is reflected in the way you speak to yourself when you make a mistake, in the way you refuse to tolerate what erodes your peace, in the way you no longer beg for what should be given freely. It is not about becoming distant or hardened. It is about becoming clear, clear about what you deserve, clear about what you will accept, and clear about when it is time to walk away. And when you begin to live from that place, something shifts in the way others meet you, not always immediately, and not always in the way you expect, but inevitably. Because when you honor yourself, you change the standard. You no longer respond to disrespect with silence that hides hurt, nor with reactions that seek approval. You respond with presence, with calm, with an unshakable sense of who you are. And whether others choose to acknowledge it or not, they feel it. There will be those who resist this version of you, those who were comfortable when you doubted yourself, when you overextended, when you made yourself smaller to fit their expectations. Your self-respect may unsettle them, may even distance them. But that is not a loss, it is a realignment, because anyone who requires you to abandon yourself in order to keep them was never aligned with your worth to begin with. Self-respect also teaches you patience with yourself. It allows you to grow without harsh judgment, to learn without shame, to evolve without fear of outgrowing old versions of who you once were. It becomes a steady voice within you, reminding you that you are allowed to change, allowed to rise, allowed to become more than what others have known you to be. And in time, you no longer question whether you are being valued correctly by others, because you have already answered that question for yourself. You have decided, through your actions and your choices, that your dignity is not negotiable. You have chosen to stand in it fully, without apology. So let self-respect lead you, even when the path feels unfamiliar. Let it guide you away from what unsettles your spirit and toward what honors it. Because when you live in alignment with your own worth, you create a presence that does not need to demand recognition. It simply exists, steady and undeniable, and in its quiet strength, it teaches the world exactly how you are to be treated. There is a place within you that no one else can reach, no matter how close they stand, no matter how deeply they believe they know you. It is a quiet place, often overlooked, where your healing waits patiently, not in the hands of others, not in their approval, not in their understanding, but within you. And yet, so often, we search for relief outside ourselves. We wait for someone to acknowledge our pain, to validate our worth, to finally give us the permission to feel whole again. But healing does not arrive that way. It does not come from applause, nor from the soft reassurance of others telling you that you are enough. Because if your peace depends on their voices, it will always be fragile, always uncertain, always at risk of being taken away. True healing begins the moment you turn inward and decide that your worth will no longer be up for negotiation, not even in your own mind. Letting go of the need for approval is not a single decision. It is a quiet practice. It happens in the moments when you choose not to explain yourself for the 100th time, when you resist the urge to seek reassurance for what you already know is right for you. It happens when you allow yourself to exist without constantly measuring how you are being perceived. And at first, it may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because you are stepping away from a habit that once felt like safety. But something beautiful begins to unfold in that space. The less you seek validation, the more you begin to trust your own voice. The more you trust your own voice, the stronger it becomes. And slowly, almost without noticing, you begin to feel a sense of peace that is not easily shaken. It is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, like a calm river that continues to flow regardless of what happens around it. There will still be moments when doubt tries to return, when the old desire for approval whispers softly in your ear. You may find yourself wondering if you are doing enough, if you are being seen, if you are understood. But now, you meet those thoughts differently. You do not chase them. You do not let them define you. You acknowledge them, and then you return to yourself, to the quiet certainty that you are already enough without needing to prove it. Healing also asks for compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. It asks you to be gentle with the parts of you that once depended on external validation, to understand that they were only trying to protect you. There is no need to judge who you used to be. Every step you took, even the ones rooted in doubt, led you here to a place where you are beginning to see yourself more clearly. And as this healing deepens, your confidence begins to grow, not from comparison, not from recognition, but from alignment. You feel it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you make decisions, in the way you no longer shrink to fit into spaces that cannot hold you. It is a confidence that does not need to announce itself because it is rooted in something far more powerful than approval. So allow yourself to release the need to be constantly seen, constantly affirmed, constantly validated, let that weight fall away gently and without resistance. Because everything you have been seeking outside has been quietly waiting for you within. And once you begin to live from that place, you will realize that no criticism, no silence, no absence of approval can take away the peace you have finally found inside yourself. There is something within you that has never dimmed, not truly, not completely. Even in your quietest moments, even in the times when you felt overlooked, dismissed, or unseen, there remained a small and steady glow. It may have flickered under the weight of doubt. It may have hidden behind disappointment, but it did not disappear. Because what lives inside you is not fragile in the way the world may have led you to believe. It is enduring, it is constant, it is yours. You are not defined by the shadows cast by others. When someone turns away from you, it does not take your light with them. When someone fails to recognize your worth, it does not erase what you carry within. Their behavior may create moments of darkness, but darkness has never had the power to extinguish light. It only reveals where the light is needed most. And you, in your very being, are a source of that light. There will be times when you are tempted to dim yourself, to soften your brilliance, so that others feel more comfortable, more secure, less threatened. You may find yourself holding back your voice, your joy, your presence, just to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you fully. But every time you do that, you move further away from your own truth. You begin to forget that your light was not given to you to be hidden. It was given to you to be lived. Standing in your light does not mean you become loud or demanding. It does not mean you force yourself into every room or seek attention at every turn. It means you allow yourself to exist fully, without shrinking, without apology, without the constant need to adjust who you are to match someone else's comfort. It is a quiet kind of radiance, one that does not need permission to shine. And yes, there will be people who misunderstand it. There will be those who question it, who feel unsettled by it, who may even try to diminish it, but that is not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for how others respond to your light. You are only responsible for not abandoning it. Because the moment you begin to dim yourself for the sake of acceptance, you begin to lose connection with the very thing that makes you who you are. Your light is not something you must earn. It is not something that grows only when others acknowledge it. It exists independently, steady and whole, whether it is seen or not. And the more you honor it, the more it expands. Not in a way that demands attention, but in a way that naturally draws the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments into your life. There is strength in embracing this fully, in walking into a space and knowing, without needing confirmation, that you belong there, in speaking your truth without fearing that it may not be accepted by everyone, in allowing your presence to be felt without questioning whether it is too much or not enough. This is what it means to stand tall, not in defiance, but in self-acceptance. So do not let the behavior of others convince you to become smaller than you are. Do not allow their limitations to become your boundaries. What you carry within you is rare, is powerful, is unrepeatable, and no matter who fails to see it, it remains. You are a force of light, not because the world says so, not because others agree, but because it is written into your very existence. And when you choose to live from that place, fully and unapologetically, there is nothing anyone can do to take that away from you.